let's now move on to She-Hulk, episode 7. So Ricky Flex, She-Hulk, my God. We complained last week. I feel like the showrunners are teasing us to this point where they're actually torturing us. We don't, after 2 episodes ago, we get a hint at the end of the episode for the new suit for Daredevil. Charlie Cox, after this episode, is yet to be seen. Spoiler recap or reactions for She-Hulk. I probably should have said that earlier, but it doesn't matter because he wasn't in it. I do want to say this did mess up like my sleep schedule. Like literally, I was on my couch and I fell asleep. I was watching Boogie Nights because I was going to do a double feature with Blonde because I think that's perfect, to be honest. NC-17 rating. Yes, that's like 6 hours of my life. Was never going to make it. Fell asleep the first like 10 minutes. I do want to say I woke up at 3:02. I'm like, oh, perfect time so I can catch Charlie Cox's premiere, reintroduction to the MCU. Same thing as I said last week. And we don't get him. Although we didn't get him, I've been on the record now saying I accept She-Hulk for what it is. It's not going to have some intense connection to the MCU. It's going to be a nice 30 minutes where you get lost in an episode for a little bit if it really connects with you. I did like this episode, though. I'm not like, I know like you may not think the same way. I think a lot of audience members might not think the same way. I thought it was very funny. You brought back Emil Blonsky, you had Tim Roth coming back. I didn't know if we were going to get him back based on the nature of this show, but it was definitely enjoyable in my opinion. It was funny. And I think it had some golden moments. It did some character exploration with Tatiana Maslany's Jennifer Walters. It was great. It was good. I'm just admitting it, but I do hate the fact we now have gotten a teased Daredevil and missed out on 2 straight episodes. Your thoughts?
I might surprise you. This was a really good episode.
It was so good, right?
It was a good episode. Damn. I was skeptical seing that man bull type thing
this,
and the
can't.
fake matador, and I was like, what the heck are we doing here? But then it turned out to be good. It turned out to be a good episode. That doesn't take away from them still not showing Charlie Cox's Daredevil in this. Let's not forget. Let's not let a good episode of the show for once just try to sweep under the rug that they've been teasing us with the Daredevil appearance. That they had it in the trailer for the show and as like the climax of the trailer. And for them not to have him yet is atrocious. And there's only 2 episodes left. How are we incorporating this? How? I thought when I saw in this episode the tribe or the council session, the group session there, when the guy walks in, it's one of the people that tried to beat up Jen for the blood.
I have some theories,
yeah. I was like, oh, perfect. That'll be a great lead into Daredevil next episode. Because it's clearly by then in the episode you knew Daredevil wasn't coming. It wasn't at all. We don't even know the guy's name. So this was a good episode. Very funny. This was funny. And I'll say a good montage in the beginning with like the dates. Great song. I actually Shazammed the song.
I did, Ricky. It is so fire. It is so fire. I listened to it 4 times on the way to work today.
What is it?
Now I'm in it.
Now I'm in it. Heim. Freaking Heim. Hey,
look it up on Spotify.
Licorice Pizza.
So
Alana Heim.
Fire.
Holy crap. Alana Heim, Licorice Pizza. That's the sisters group. Holy crap.
I'm glad you brought it up. Holy crap.
Dude, that song was fire. But yeah, don't let this good episode overshadow that they have done us dirty with Daredevil. And this is why Marvel Phase 4, Phase 5, they're not writing the ship well so far.
I agree with you. This was the first episode I thought was truly funny. And I didn't know if I was just seeing things because it was 3:20 in the morning. I was like, am I actually laughing at an episode? Like, am I laughing out loud with no one around me? No one's exacerbating my laugh. It's just straight up funny. The council was great. They were hilarious. Emil Blonsky, like Tim Roth. This gives me hope for Daredevil. This gives me hope for Daredevil because you're taking a character that was very serious in The Incredible Hulk. And then you've taken him and he's adapted so well. Tim Roth is an amazing actor. Change of scenery, still maintaining the same character. He excels. It makes me think like it gives me hope that Charlie Cox can do the same thing. Tim Roth is like one of the great secondary actors of our generation, to be honest. And his work with Tarantino is so stellar. And it's just like if he's able to do this and transform his character a bit and like almost like adapt to this show, it gives me hope for Daredevil. And I think that's a big takeaway for this episode, even though we didn't get him. The guy who played, I think it was Aguila is his name.
Yeah, the Matador.
The Matador. He gave me very much Princess Bride vibes, and I loved it.
He got better as the episode went. They all did. The whole council got better as the episode went on.
Funny, dude. So funny, and I'm glad we're on the same wavelength here. But it also, when the theory time, when the guy who jumps Jennifer Walters shows up in the council, I'm starting to think that Emil Blonsky is the guy who's orchestrating the attack on Jen. And that would make sense because who do we get? What do we find out at the end of this episode is Josh, who's the wedding date and like goes on a few dates with Jen. She ghosts him, and then we find out that he's probably a member of the intelligentsia, right? And he's saying that he got her blood. Is that what he did?
Yeah. And the Hulk King text. Who's that probably to? Maybe Abomination or General Ross. I don't know.
But also Ricky, Jesus. But what it makes me think is that if like you have this character turn, like Josh was almost very predictable. Like you knew from the design of the show, whoever Jen ends up falling in love with or like falling for is going to be a bad guy. It's just how it works. And it makes me think that Tim Roth has gained the trust of She-Hulk, of Jen Walters, and like a key part of this episode, like she doesn't have like Wi-Fi, she doesn't have a signal while she's at this ranch that Tim Roth is Emil Blonsky set at. It makes you think she's going to be going back there and she's going to need to like get help somehow. Maybe Hulk comes back in some capacity, or just Daredevil comes in some capacity. But it's setting up for something evil to happen at that ranch, in my opinion. So although we love Emil Blonsky here and we want to trust him, we really can't. Just judging by the fact of the company in that council, he's gained the trust, and this guy named Josh from the intelligentsia has now gained the trust and then obviously betrays her. I just think Emil Blonsky, it could end up being the big bad.
I think it's inevitable that he is now, because that guy's now connected to him, the fight, who wanted the blood, right? So you have that. And if he was only going to be a cameo, they would have been done with him already. They wouldn't have brought him back, right? They wouldn't have brought him back. Right. So I think it's inevitable now that he's the big bad. Now, does he work with Kingpin, and then that's how Daredevil gets bring in here? I don't know. I still don't know how Daredevil is going to be incorporated in this show.
Just that he picks up his suit and then he hears about She-Hulk. Like, I don't understand how this works.
So we'll see. It will work out. My problem is like you still haven't done it. So we'll see.
I also had a question regarding the council. Are these guys mutants?
I was wondering, because the vampire isn't a vampire, so like he's a normal human. And then you have the two people that maybe they are, right? The Matador and then the Man-Bull. But then the Porcupine guy, he's a normal human just wearing a costume. So
maybe just the mask though. Maybe is the suit like all these sharpened points? Like he could just take it off at any time.
He said you got to get it dry cleaned. So I think that is just the suit. Good point. And then the one that has the connection to the blood, I think, is also just a human, unless he has special abilities that just they didn't show in the fight, but they would have. He would have gotten it because he wanted the blood then. He didn't want to disappoint the boss or whatever, like he said in the van. So I think you would have seen that already. So maybe the Man-Bull and Matador, but that would be it for me.
It just made me curious because we got Mr. Immortal last episode, who is a self-proclaimed mutant, and we know we've already had hints at Wolverine, right, through news headlines in this show. Who knows if it's Logan and Deadpool 3? Who knows? You know, it'd be interesting if you all of a sudden, if Deadpool has like 2 Wolverine in it, where it's like the new one shows up too, and then Deadpool's like, oh, didn't anticipate this happening. Sounds very much like it would happen. Like
they usher the new one away. Like, oh
yeah, it's just like before the big battle. Like, this isn't your fight anymore. Goodbye. See you later. That would be very Deadpool. Yeah, so that's really what I got for the show. We are now 7 episodes deep. We got 2 left. You would assume Daredevil is making an appearance in episode 8. And if he does, what they should do is have him in the last 2 episodes for what they put like MCU fans through. He should be in the 8 and 9 because the buildup has been there. MCU fans are churning out every week. You have been basically baiting audiences, like boosting streaming numbers, thinking Daredevil's there. It'd be great if he was in the last 2 just to put up like with the hassle.
We've been bamboozled. We've been hassled with.
Hoodwinked.
Hoodwinked. They literally used him as propaganda and just to get their figures up, their streaming numbers up. They didn't use him properly like we would want to see, and they used him in this show really just to boost up Disney Plus. And that's why like you're going against art, you're going against you're not going against the comics because like Jen Walters and She-Hulk is like pretty good to the comics, I would say. It's more just like holistically as a show in general. It's like we would have stopped long ago if that wasn't in the outline, like out in the outlook, So whatever. Andor's better.
We are about to get to that, but do you think that the nature of the She-Hulk character, do you think she should be in Deadpool 3?
Nope. Don't
Just
get near. You know my thoughts. I don't want her even in Secret Wars.
2 characters that fight over the 4th wall break, maybe. I don't know. Just thinking out loud.
No.
Okay, that's gonna do it. That's gonna do it for She-Hulk.